Today is all about government contracts and grants. So you understand the difference. Some people don't know and they kind of intertwine all of these things or get confused between government funding and government grants and as well as like government contracts. Those are all three different concepts, three totally different things. Certain things that you have to do differently for each of those. And I'm just going to dive a little bit more into what that is. So now, first, I want to talk about the difference between a grant and a government contract, the difference. And then I may even talk about government funding, which people kind of use all of those different terms interchangeably as if it's the same thing, but it's not, right? What a grant is basically is free money based off a certain criteria that you've met. For example, right now, there's a lot of grants that are available that corporations and philanthropists are putting together for small businesses. Some of them are broken up for small businesses in general. Some of them are broken up for women owned small businesses, and some of them are broken up for minority owned businesses. There are even specific grants provided based off your industry. So, for instance, restaurants are receiving a lot of free money grants specifically because you're in that high risk industry right now during this time, right? Okay, so free money is something that you don't have to work for, right? You'll see grants for like 5,000. Okay, you'll see grants for 50,000. Sometimes, depending on your industry, you may see some grants for like 25,000, right? Either way, even a micro grant of $1,000 is what? Free money, right? So for those of you who are either starting a business, looking to grow a business, or just looking to pad your business with grants, just know, and this is key to know, that grants is not a sustainable way to grow your business. Now, you don't want to be dependent on grants to run your business because your business has to be profitable. And if you're sitting waiting for grants in order to do what you need to do to grow your business, then just I don't even know what to tell you. It's just not gonna happen because grants don't come in the abundance like that. It just does not. However, there are different types of grants, right? So there are grants that are created, like I said, specifically for like certain types of businesses, certain type of criteria. And if you are a nonprofit, which is completely different, you can actually write grants. Grant writing and receiving grants is two separate things. So I'm going to go just a little bit deep. Grant writing and applying for a grant are two separate things, right? So if you're in the nonprofit space, which means that, and by the way, a nonprofit still has to have profits in order to run your business. And a nonprofit status only just means that you have tax free, income, right? So you still have to build a nonprofit business the same way you will build a for-profit business, right? So that's just a little nugget that I wanted to drop for people who kind of get it twisted and get it confused. Oh, I'm a nonprofit. Oh, that means you're tax-free status, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have a profitable business. It just means that you don't have to, basically because of the industry or the type of tax status that you have, you don't have to pay Uncle Sam taxes, right? So that's the only difference. But anyway, for nonprofit, you can write grants, right? So when it comes to for-profit business, there's going to be applications that are already out there designed for you. That is what a grant is, right? But who can live off $50,000 if you don't have no other type of revenue coming in? Nobody. But yes, a grant can pad your income, but a grant is not something that you will live off of. So now moving into government contracts, which is completely different. A contract is a contractual agreement to provide a product or service in exchange for said dollar amount. Typically, government contracts are like 2 to 5 years, right? So that brings you consistent, sustainable income over a longer period of time. Instead of a one-off client, you have a client that's going to work with you multiple times throughout the 2 to 5 years. Every single month, you could be generating in revenues, depending on the contract, the industry, and all those things. But let's just say at minimum, an extra $10,000. So let's say you're generating an extra $10,000 a month in government contracts, working less than 5 days out of the month, right? That's 120,000 times 5. Now you've actually landed a contract that's worth, the value of that is $500,000 and more. If you're working for a six-figure contract, 5 days out of the month, right? How many more days do you have? 25, at least, at minimum 25 more. So let's say you doubled that effort, right? Now you're working 10 days out of the month for a similar scope over a similar period of time. So now you just created a net worth within that, to those two contracts, of $1 million. Well, now you're already a millionaire in revenues that you have not already received, but you're working towards it every single month. So every month, instead of $10,000 that you're invoicing for, you're invoicing for $20,000, and you're working less than 10 days a month. First, you get the contract, then you do the work, then you invoice for it, and now you have cash flow. When it comes to government funding, right, which is something else that people just kind of confuse funding with contracts, with grants, and all those things. Government funding are loans, right? So that means you don't have to do any work, but you do have to produce documentation to qualify for a loan that you will have to pay back. All right. Did I make that clear? You don't have to do any work for a loan, but you do have to produce documentation that you can afford to pay that loan back over a period of time, and you will have to pay it back. Okay. That is what funding is, right? Funding, grants, contracts, right? Free money, money you work for, and money you got to pay back. Three different things, totally different things. But you can diversify your portfolio to leverage all three of those things to generate what? Create what? Wealth, right? And you have to know how to do it strategically. So let's just say, ideally, mainly on an average year, you're managing 5 contracts to the sum of maybe $250,000 per contract, which is very easy, by the way, to do, right? But most people won't get that. Well, in fact, most people won't ever get there because they're too afraid to fail to invest in the knowledge and education to help them do that. So they probably won't ever get there, right? But on average, if you're doing this diligently, you can easily land at least your first $250,000 contract in a 6 to 12 month period. That's almost a guarantee, right? That's almost, and the reason why I say almost a guarantee is because you have to guarantee that you're going to do the work to get there. But the money is there, the foundation is there. That, and I'm talking about minimums. I'm not even talking about what people are actually doing. I'm not even talking about what is actually possible for you. I'm talking about bare minimum effort.